Hello, I'm Lisa Obradovic, the Marketing Manager for WOCNCB, and would like to welcome you to the Certification Inspiration podcast. Produced by the Wound Ostomy and Continence Nursing Certification Board, WOCNCB is a nationally accredited, not-for-profit international organization certifying over 10,000 nurses who are specialists in the field of wound, ostomy, continence, and foot care. In 2026, we launched a new award, the WOCNCB Certified Nurse of the Year Award. The Board of Directors wanted to recognize an individual nurse who exemplifies the highest standards of clinical excellence, leadership, integrity, innovation, mentorship, lifelong learning, and service to the wound, ostomy, continence, and foot care nursing profession. WOCNCB announced and presented the award during the WOCNCB conference in Indianapolis earlier this year. In this episode, we are excited to have the opportunity to speak with the first-time WOCNCB Certified Nurse of the Year award winner, Kelly Chapman, along with Dylan Carpenter, who submitted Kelly's nomination for the award. Kelly has been a CWOCN for over 20 years and is the team lead of the WOC team at UAB Hospital at the University of Alabama in Birmingham. Dylan Carpenter is a certified wound ostomy and continence nurse, a nurse educator, and a colleague of Kelly's at UAB Hospital. We're also joined by Aningalan, the financial officer and chair of the Nominations and Awards Committee of the WOCNCB. Alex is a certified wound ostomy nurse. Thank you all for taking the time to speak with us today. Both Alex and I have questions for Kelly and Dylan, but before that, I wanted to ask Alex a question. Since Alex, you reviewed all the nominations, what made Dylan's nomination the standout favorite to you and the award committee for the WOCNCB Nurse of the Year Award?
Thank you, Lisa. And I must say it was a unanimous decision by the Awards and Nominations Committee. What made Dylan's nomination really stand out was the depth and breadth of Kelly's impact. The nomination showed how she spent more than 20 years championing WOCNCB certification, mentoring over 25 Certified Wound Ostomy Continence Nurses or CWOCNs, leading an award-winning team, publishing at the Journal of Wound Continence Nursing or the JWOCN, serving as a peer reviewer, and driving quality initiatives to significantly improve patient care outcomes. In addition, what made it especially compelling was the consistent message from the colleagues, physicians, patients, professional organizations that Kelly not only excels in her own practice, but elevates the entire profession through leadership, mentorship, advocacy, and service. I can say that Kelly truly embodies what the inaugural WOCNCB Certified Nurse of the Year Award was created to recognize.
Yes, Dylan's nomination essay is posted on the WOCNCB website under the awards section, and I recommend everyone read it. It is so inspiring, and it really outlines everything Kelly has done over the 20 years in this specialty, and that had an impact on the facility she works at and her team. So thank you. So the first question is for Dylan. Dylan, when you think of Kelly, what is the first story that comes to mind that captures why you nominated?
There are so many stories that come to mind when I think of Kelly and all the great things that she's done. But I guess the first story that would come to my mind goes all the way back to orientation when I was a new bedside nurse here at UAB Hospital. Part of my orientation was to shadow with the wound care nurse, and Kelly was the certified wound ostomy and continence nurse that covered the unit that I was working on. And Kelly has a new hire shadowing program, so I was able to follow her for a whole day. And honestly, I thought that was just something that I was going to be checking off the orientation checklist, and then I could be a real deal nurse. But instead, it ended up being something that changed the course of my career. I watched how Kelly cared for patients with such compassion, and what really stood out to me was how she cared for everybody around her. She never just treated a wound, walked out of the room and charted, moved on about her day. Instead, she took that opportunity to educate the patient. She coached the bedside nurses. She collaborated with physicians. She made everybody feel like they were part of the solution. Every interaction was an opportunity for her to teach and expand her reach and the reach of the WOC profession. By the end of the day, I remembered thinking, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to be a WOC nurse when I grow up. And Kelly took that to heart. She really instilled a lot in me. She let me shadow more. I did an internship with her. And a few years after that, she encouraged me to apply for a position on our team. Looking back, that one shadowing experience really changed that trajectory of my career. And that's why we nominated Kelly and why this nomination was so meaningful to me, especially. She has probably no idea that those few hours that she spent with me first week of my nursing career would have the kind of impact that it had. But that's exactly who Kelly is at the root. She changes lives, one conversation, one lesson, and one act of encouragement at a time.
That was very heartwarming to hear, Dylan, from one CWOCN mentored by another CWOCN. That was very inspiring to hear. You already touched on some of this, but I'm just curious to know, what impact have you seen Kelly make on patients, colleagues, or the profession that actually made her stand out as a WOCNCB certified nurse?
Well, this is a great question, and I could talk for hours and hours on this. But when I think about Kelly's impact, I don't just think about what she's done for me, but what she's done for the profession as a whole. She is the reason that over half of our team at UAB are WOC nurses. She sees potential in people that we don't even see it ourselves at their beginning, and she encourages us to be WOC nurses, to pursue our certification, and she really gives us the confidence to succeed. She's also was instrumental in the growth of our team. At UAB, we started with just a couple of WOC nurses, and we are now at this golden standard, we like to say, of one WOC nurse for every 100 patient beds. She constantly is advocating for the resources, not only for us on the team, but also the best resources for our patients, the best products and supplies. Clinically, Kelly manages by far the most challenging assignment on our service at the hospital, and she does it with remarkable consistency and compassion. You never see her sweat. No matter how demanding her day is, she is always making time to mentor new nurses, answer questions. I know I come to her. I have like a list of how many times I can come to her before I feel like I'm annoying her. And she always is going to answer my questions. And also, she's going to take the time to advocate, even if that means coming in early or staying late. She is truly the cornerstone of our team and just a wealth of knowledge and experience. I don't know what we would do without her. But what I think really makes Kelly stand out is her humility. She never seeks recognition herself. In fact, she's usually the one who's writing nominations. She is always the one who is going to celebrate others' accomplishments. If there's anything that is going on, she makes sure that that work is being recognized and that it's not just happening in the shadows. Kelly leads quietly, but she leads with an example. And I think that's so important as a leader, especially for our team. And might I add, she does it with incredible poise. We have this running joke that's not really a joke on our team that all of us want to be her when we grow up, not just professionally, but personally. She is the person that you want to be as a clinician and a mentor and a teammate. She's the kind of leader who makes everybody around her better simply by just working alongside her. And I think that's why this award is so meaningful. It recognized her when she spent her entire career helping others to succeed. To me, Kelly has always been the nurse of the year. It's just wonderful to see the rest of the profession recognize what we've known here at UAB all along.
It's so nice to hear those words from you, Dylan, and the inspiration that she gives the team and everyone that works with her. Kelly, I have a question for you. Like we heard from Dylan that you inspired him to become a CWOCN by that first time shadowing. What was your path to becoming a CWOCN? How did you learn about the specialty?
Yes. Well, actually, Dylan telling that story, I don't know if I've actually heard that story before. So I was like, yeah, my path was very similar. I had first heard about WSC nursing in nursing school. One of the instructors was a WSC, called them ET nurses back then. And I just remember she did the ostomy section and talking about, an ostomy patient that she had that had a food blockage and how they dealt with that. And it was a really funny story. It's like, this is a great story. I didn't really think much about it after that. I started my career in the ICU, medical ICU in UAB. And there were 3 WSCNs at that time covering the hospital. And an opportunity came to have staff nurses shadow them and just learn more about wound care, learn more about ostomies. jumped on the opportunity. I wanted to be a resource on my unit. I wanted to find somewhere where I could be valued. So I was not really interested in being a WOCN. I was like, I really don't know what I'm looking at. I really want to learn more and just, help my coworkers. So I shadowed Hattie for a week, and in shadowing her, I was like, oh my gosh, she does so much. This is amazing. This is so interesting. All I knew is that she came up to my unit, saw my patient, looked at the wound, told us what to do with it, and we did it. And then so seeing her do the ostomies and all the things that she was doing outside of work, they were planning on a Southeast Region conference at that time. And like, this seems really interesting. And so she saw my interest, and, whenever she would come up to the unit, I would talk to her. Hey, Hattie, I saw this wound. This is what I think. What do you think? Let's go look. And she was always just, Kelly, you need to go to school. You need to go to Emory. And at that point, I was a single mother. I could not leave my children and also pay for it, take the time off of work. It was just financially impossible. So a few years later, they were down to 2 WOCN. And they were just not able to find anybody to fill that third position. We're a small bunch, and we might be kind of set in where we want to work, so we don't move around a lot. Anyway, and Karen, she said, listen, we got to send somebody to school. This is what we got to do. We got to train somebody sending to school. So I interviewed for that, and I got it. And I, went to Emory, and, with Dorothy, it was just so amazing. And, I just remember, going to the classes, and just everything was so interesting. I was really surprised because nursing school, you go to nursing school and they tell you how it's supposed to be, and it may not exactly be that way. Everything that Dorothy said was true. Like everything that she said, this is how we do it. This is what we do. Everybody did it. It was just so interesting. And I got into it for the wounds. I found out that I really liked the ostomies. I really felt that's where I made a difference, in those patients' lives, and, just keeping in contact with them some. I've had some for almost since the beginning of my career. Just it's really nice to hear from them, and just every once in a while just feel the impact that I made on their lives.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your path towards becoming a CWOCN and really being involved in the WOC nursing profession. I guess my next question would be, how do you think your career has evolved since becoming certified in wound ostomy and continence?
Yeah, my career has evolved in ways I never would have imagined. When I first started, I was the third WOCN. The hospital was a lot smaller at that time. We were covering multiple units, just putting out fires. We expanded our team to 4, and then 5 and 6. And we worked like that for about 10 years. Over 10 years ago, we got a new nursing director and a medical director to redesign our team. And so the 6 of us would sit down with Dr. Vandernoot and our director, Holly, and, what should this team look like? And, at that time, we were looking at 1 to 100 ratio patients to WOCNs. And we were like, well, this is what the research is showing. This is what we should do. So we asked for a total of 12 WOCNs, because you always also ask for more than what you think you're going to get. And Holly was over the burn team, and she said, well, what about techs? Could we add some techs to the team? Well, okay, sure. We'll ask for techs. We knew that Dr. Vandernoot was going to need some sort of APP to work with him. So that was a no-brainer. But, so Holly presented our plan, and every bit of it was approved. We probably could have asked for more, but that was just amazing. So we hired, 60 nurses, sent them to school, and trained them. And what I found really interesting is, I was kind of, doing my job day to day, not really, like knowing what I was doing, but not really thinking that I knew a lot. It was really interesting to have the students or new WOCNs come up to me and ask me questions. And I was like, wait a second, I know the answer to that. Okay, yeah, I kind of know what I'm doing. And so, yeah, I mean, it was really, really interesting to see that team grow and the impact that we've made. We've now have weekend coverage. We've started a complex wound dressing team. We are really seen as leaders, all of us, and experts in our fields in our positions. I was always kind of surprised when, I would go round on my units and one of the residents would say, "Well, I was reading your note." I'm like, "Wait a second, you're reading my note? That's amazing." And they were like, "I really like what you said," or, I have a question about this. And then becoming team lead 2 years ago, I never would have imagined that. And I'm still working through that day to day and trying to be the leader that people look up to, the quiet leader. But yeah, I never would have imagined that 20 years ago that this is where it would take me. This is better than I expected.
That's great. So with your experience and your time there, what impact has WOCNCB certification had on the care you and your team provide and patient outcomes?
Yeah, it's a huge impact. We get patients from all over the state, in surrounding states, and I've encountered lots of patients, lots of families and they did not have a certified WOCN in their hospital, like when they got their ostomy. And, they'll tell me stories about, well, I found a neighbor that had one, I YouTubed a bunch of stuff. They didn't have the education. And then wound patients that come in with non-healing wounds. And I'm like, well, I think that we can heal this. Let's try something different. Are you open to that? So really, I mean, just the impact of it's mostly the ostomy patients that I feel so fortunate that we have colorectal surgeons that are so supportive of us, and we're able to do our thing with our ostomy patients. So I'm really fortunate that our employer requires the full scope CWOCN certification. Most of us certify by professional growth. So that really encourages us to seek out learning opportunities for ourselves so we can pass those on to other staff, keeps us to date with the latest trends, the standards of care, and evidence-based practice. We do a lot of QI projects with our units, with our nurses. We do RN orientation. We do education with the surgical residents. We do all kinds of education. We do a lot of QI projects on our unit. Really seen as experts in our field throughout the hospital. Our opinions and advice are valued. It's really amazing. But we just really see the difference that being certified really makes with our patients and our patient outcomes.
One thing you didn't mention, Kelly, which I got from Dylan's nomination essay, was that your hospital-acquired pressure injuries have decreased by over 90%.
Yes, it's great. Yeah, we have a really robust data collection. We actually at WOCN went to go work in that department. He's back with us now, but we will continue. We've made such good groundwork with just pulling information from the chart and the dashboards, so all the nurse managers can really see where they are with their pressure injury rates.
Thank you. And yeah, I like that Lisa also pointed that out. It is really a great metric. And I'm pretty sure healthcare organizations would always look at the decrease in pressure injury rates. I also like that you said that the team, your CWOCN team there in your hospital, are viewed as leaders. I think that's essential. And we emphasize that the CWOCN team are leaders in our fields because we are leaders in our field. This is going to segue to my next question. Kelly is the team leader of the CWOCN team, which is also a leadership team. As a leader and mentor, how do you collaborate with other departments to support WOCNCB certified nurses? And how do you provide patient outcomes and inspire others to pursue certification?
Yes. So really proud of is our Wound Scholars program. We started this amongst ourselves, I believe it was 2019. So I know that the first cohort went through COVID. We based it off the WOTA program from Emory. And so this is a program for licensed and unlicensed professionals to learn about wound and ostomy care. We did it the first year. It was really kind of difficult to manage everything with our patient load and then doing the education sessions. There's once a month education sessions. We have a 1-year track and a 2-year track. So we have handed that off to the Department of Interprofessional Practice and Training. So Jada manages that program right now. She is amazing. She is so organized. And so she takes that off of our plate, and we are able to provide the education for the participants. We have physical therapists, occupational therapists, nurses, techs. We have a physician participating this cohort. We had a physician last cohort. They do a QI project with a 2-year cohort. And so we help out with those. It's really interesting to see what they come up with too. One of the things that I really pride myself on is really finding good talent. I'm very proud of our WOC team, and especially the people that I recruited myself, if I'm being honest, but which is most of them. Some of them found us on their own, but I really do. I look at nurses and when they shadow me, and is this a person that might be interested in being a WOC, and how can I mentor them? How can I have them shadow me some more? Can I really go to them when I go into the unit and engage them more and give them education so that they can pass on to the other nurses? We still do have our unit expert program where the nurses will shadow us for several days and become a resource on the unit. So it's like a Wound Scholar Light program. And so it's I do that for the nurses that aren't ready to commit or not able to commit to Wound Scholars, but they are able to commit to a few days with me. And I had a lot of my nurses in a couple of my ICUs shadow me, and it really made a difference in their pressure ulcer rates, in their patient care, in their following the wound orders, and their ability to manage ostomies. But I really do pride myself on finding that talent. I feel like I have a special gift for it.
I really like that you emphasize the strengths in team building, interprofessional collaboration, right? And also hearing how you started, essentially the past, the present. And now we're going to pivot into the future, and that's where my next question would actually take us, right?
Yeah.
Looking ahead into the future of WOCNCB certified nursing practice, especially in the age of AI, what do you foresee are the opportunities and challenges that our future colleagues may face, and how do you plan to overcome the challenges and leverage the opportunities?
Yeah. Well, that's the hard question right there. I'm not techie at all. We are moving to Epic, and so it's been really interesting to sit in the meetings and see what's coming available, and the cameras that can measure. We don't have anything like that right now. The cameras that can measure the wound and look at the depth, and so I think that AI, especially in that way, will really enhance our guidance of our treatment, maybe be able to really tell if something is infected or if there's something else going on with it. I'm hoping that AI will also help us kind of go through the chart. It's really tedious to go through the chart, look at their labs, look at their history, and be really meticulous about finding everything so you can determine the best mode of treatment for them. I'm hoping that AI will really kind of help guide us better in looking through those notes in the patient's chart. I do have a concern about AI, especially now with, critical thinking I feel like it's going by the wayside, and people are relying more on, ChatGPT and to write their letters and, do programs and stuff. So I don't know how to overcome that challenge. I can overcome it with myself, and just know that AI has its limitations and has hallucinations. And it's really interesting that, yeah, I can only do that within myself. But I'm looking forward to what technology is going to be able to bring us.
So I guess I'm of the age of technology, so AI is quite interesting to me. It's something that's really being discussed amongst my DNP studies that I'm doing currently. Like Kelly said, I do have the concern that it could limit some critical thinking. I don't want us to rely on the technology that's coming. I do think that there is a good intersection there between WOC nursing and AI. There's a lot that we can leverage with this technology to kind of standardize the care. I think it could potentially have the capabilities of looking through the chart and identifying what patients are at risk for certain wounds so that we could kind of promote that prevention strategy while they are moving down before their Braden score is at a point that we would know they're at risk. So I do think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think that it is going to completely revolutionize our specialty as it is developing, but it's something that we are going to have to be on the forefront of to ensure that we know what wounds are and how to treat wounds ourselves and not rely on the technology to tell us what to do and how to treat it.
Yes, and nursing is like the most honored profession. So I think with your specialty, I feel good. You're going to be involved. Use your critical thinking.
Right.
Great. Great answers. As we wrap up, I wanted to ask both Kelly and Dylan, if you had a message, what would it be to share with nurses who are considering certification or looking to grow in their careers?
You want to start?
I guess I will start. I have said this on a previous podcast, but I'm going to reiterate it here. WOC nursing is great. If you are considering it, go for it. Whatever those limitations are, there are so many opportunities out there now. There are online programs that you can do. There are a lot of scholarships. If the finance is a barrier, a lot of institutions will pay for you once you apply and get into that area and that space. But amongst WOC nursing, there are so many different avenues that you can take. You have the inpatient side, the outpatient side, there's industry, there's education. So we are a niche within nursing, but then there are so many niches in that one area. It is great. You're not boxing yourself in. It is such a fulfilling career. I love that we're able to stay in contact with many of our patients. I love that our profession impacts the quality of life of patients, and that is just so fulfilling as a nurse. You see a wound that has not healed that they've had for months and months, and you are able to heal it and see it completely regenerate and heal. With ostomies, you're able to see somebody who was bedbound and didn't want to get out in public because of the leakage that they were experiencing, and you're able to fix that issue. So it is just such an amazing specialty, and we're just such a good group of people. Every WOC nurse that you meet, they are going to tell you their story and will mentor you and help you. I'm younger in my WOC profession, but I have made so many connections that I can call colleagues from all across the United States that have different expertises and interests that could help solve problems that I'm facing in my practice. So it is just such an amazing area. If you are thinking about it, just do it.
Yeah, I ditto what Dylan said. Yeah, it's just an amazing profession. I had no idea when I got started how this was going to change my life. And I just really, and he talked about the ostomy patients. I mean, really, that is where, I really feel fulfilled. You're talking to an ostomy patient, they're scared to death. Sometimes they don't have any idea what's even happened to them. They may wake up with an ostomy. They're scared to death to touch it. It looks like it hurts. It looks like it's going to get infected. And you just like, no, this is fine. You're going to be able to do this. And you show them and you can literally see the light go on in their eyes. They're like, I can do this. With some help, with some practice, I can do this and I can live my life just like I was living my life before. I mean, it is just so rewarding. I am all about some lifelong learning and, just the opportunities that we have to learn more about our specialty, going to conferences, meeting other people, networking, the other opportunities that we have with advisory boards. And, what I really enjoyed too was being an expert, wound nurse for lawyers. I thought it was really interesting, like detective work. And I don't do that anymore because I like my free time. But that was another really interesting thing that came out of that.
Thank you, Kelly and Dylan, for being here, and Alex. This has been truly an inspiring discussion. For over 20 years, Kelly, you have embodied the mission, values, standards of WOCNCB Certified Nursing. Through your work, you have strengthened clinical practice, empowered future leaders, advanced evidence-based care, and positively impacted countless patients, colleagues, and communities. Kelly Chapman, you are a true certification inspiration. Dylan, thank you so much for submitting this nomination so we can share the positive impact Kelly has had over the last 20 years as a CWOCN leader, mentor, educator, and caregiver. To learn more about WOCNCB Certified Nurse of the Year Award, just visit our website at WOCNCB.org and select the Get Involved tab. Thank you for listening. WOCNCB sets the standard for wound, ostomy, continence, and foot care nursing certification by validating nurses' knowledge to provide safe, patient-centered care. Until next time, visit WOCNCB.org to learn more or contact WOCNCB at info@WOCNCB.org. And remember to follow us on our social media platforms. This podcast is produced by WOCNCB. Take care.